Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own Until Morning or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by JordanUnbroken, and you can find the link on our show notes. This story is being read to you by me, Britt. Until Morning. Chapter 5. Scylla laid on her sofa, mulling over the last few days. When Scylla went out to dinner with her friends, despite her best efforts to put Rael Collar out of her mind, she told them everything. All of her feelings poured out onto the table between Anacostia and Abigail. Ever the level-headed one, Abigail told her she should excuse herself as Rael's doctor. It was a conflict of interest, and there could be a lawsuit if something went wrong. If something happened to Rael, one could argue that it was retribution on Scylla's part. Anacostia suggested that she simply talk to her, as traumatic as the history was, to clear the air. Even though Scylla lost her parents years ago, it was still a gaping wound, and a candid conversation could help bring closure. Rael was innocent in this matter, and was also a victim herself. It could be good for both of you, Anacostia supplied gently. What if she doesn't want to talk about it once I tell her? I can only assume it's painful for her as well. If I were in her shoes? Scylla's voice cracked. As she spoke the words, she knew it wasn't really what she meant to say. She wasn't ready to stop seeing Rael every day. It was a jarring realization. What if she doesn't want to see me again? What Scylla felt for the woman had little to do with their past. Seeing Rael's determination and positivity in the face of horrible pain and recovery was something to behold. Rael wasn't her mother, and certainly wasn't responsible for actions that she had no control over. It would be nice to talk to someone who really knew what she was going through. If she doesn't want to talk about it, at least you tried, Anacostia said. Abigail spoke up. I still think you need to cover your ass, legally speaking. You don't want to have your whole career go down the tubes because of one conversation. Right. However, it was only one conversation, between two adults with shared history. What could go wrong? Scylla had been nothing but professional as Rael's doctor, and she was thankfully healing well. The worst that could happen right now is that Rael would dismiss her as her doctor, and they would never speak again. Scylla didn't have the nerve to say anything the next time she saw Rael. Rael's friend Tally was sitting with her, and this was a conversation that required a bit of privacy. At least at first. From the comments Tally made around her being familiar, she probably recognized her from the trial or maybe the small amount of newspaper coverage. Hopefully Tally's memory wouldn't click until after she talked with Rael. Scylla got up off of her sofa and got ready for work. Today would be the day that she would recuse herself from Rael's case. Scylla wanted to tell her how sorry she was for not saying something sooner. How sorry she was that Rael lost her mother in a way as well. That maybe after Rael was better, they could get coffee and speak again on more even ground, if she were open to it. Scylla fixed her hair in the reflection of the elevator doors on the way to Rael's room. She blew out a breath before opening the door crack and knocking. Is it all right to come in? Everyone decent? It was standard protocol. You never knew when someone was in the middle of a sponge bath. Come on in. Rael's words became more fluent every day. Rael was alone in the room, with an open book of Sudoku puzzles in front of her. How are you today? Scylla asked, fiddling with her chart. Better. My legs are itchy, but I take it that's a good sign. They're starting to get a little rank, though. Rael stuck a plastic spoon down her cast to scratch. You really shouldn't do that. You could break the skin. Tap it from the outside instead. Scylla demonstrated, and Rael's eyes followed Scylla's hands as they tapped firmly on the cast. The spoon was better, Rael complained, but I'll do it your way. I'd rather still have legs when all is said and done. They'll replace the cast soon. Make sure you get an exfoliation scrub, and for when they take it off, and prepare for a lot of dead skin. Gross. Noted, Rael nodded. So how am I healing up, Doc? Pretty good, actually. You should be able to go home soon instead of the rehab facility for the remainder of your recovery. You'll need some help around your home, but I've seen that you have a support system. Nobody expected you to be doing this well, but here we are. Scylla gave her a soft smile. Wow, I've never been an overachiever before. I guess it's the one time it really counts, though. Rael smiled back. There's something I need to talk to you about, though. Scylla spoke, and Rael's eyes grew worried. A complication? No, as I said, you're healing beautifully. I just need to tell you that I can't be your doctor anymore. Handing me off to one of your interns. They keep looking at me like I'm going to keel over any second, Rael spoke. No, you'll be in good hands. But the reason I can't be your doctor is because of personal affiliation. Scylla's eyes met Rael's. Rael's face paled. 10 years ago, Scylla began. Rael cut her off. Your parents. Yes. Scylla looked at her shoes for a moment. I didn't know when I performed your surgeries. You were a Jane Doe until your father came in and identified you. Rael nodded absently. I promise that I don't blame you for what happened with your mother. A lot has happened, but you... Rael handed Scylla a photo from her bedside table, and Scylla's word faltered. A teenage Rael was flanked by 2 smiling adults. I was going to tell you. I didn't think you knew. I just wanted to say that. There was a lump in Rael's throat that kept her from finishing the sentence. We were kids, but I remember your face. I'm sorry for what happened, you know. I lost my parents, but I know you lost your mother. Is she... Can I ask, is she still in prison? Rael was quiet for a moment. She is. I haven't spoken to her, though. Scylla's heart broke for the woman in front of her. I'm sorry. I can't argue with the verdict. But I also know it's not your fault, Scylla replied honestly. Rael cleared her throat. It is, though. Scylla searched Rael's eyes for what she meant. No, we were kids. Your mother drove drunk and didn't see my parents' car through the rain. It was awful, but you aren't to blame. She reiterated the facts you heard multiple times throughout the trial. She was drunk, but she wasn't the one driving. I was, Rael rasped out. This time, it felt like Scylla was the one who was hit by the truck. Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own, and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.